Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks belong to God, the Lord of the worlds. May peace, blessings, and prayers be upon Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions, and all of God's prophets and messengers. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, sisters, friends, guests. I'm Edward Ahmed Mitchell, welcoming you to today's episode of CAIR on Air. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. A special thank you to our listeners on American Muslim 360. If you have any questions during the program today, just put them in the comments on Facebook, and inshallah, we will try to get to them. Today, we have a very special program with two very special guests. Inshallah, we're going to be discussing China's ongoing genocide of Uyghurs, the Uyghur Muslim community. And as part of that genocide, as you know, they've been destroying Muslim houses of worship, locking people in concentration camps, and many other horrible things. And sadly, there are still corporations, including American corporations, that are complicit in this genocide, that continue to do business not only with China, but in the region where the genocide is occurring. And that includes a hotel, Hilton Hotel, which is establishing a new hotel on the site of a destroyed Uyghur mosque in the Uyghur region of China. As you know, there's a boycott now against Hilton over this issue, and inshallah, we're going to discuss the issue of the Hilton boycott campaign and the broader issue of what China has been doing to the Uyghur people with two very special guests. Let's bring them on right now. We have with us first Brother Abdulhakim Idris, who is an activist, a writer, and the Inspector General at the World Uyghur Congress. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Idris. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Ahmed. Nice to be with you on the air.
Thank you so much for joining us. And let's also bring on Brother Babur Ilchi, who is the Program Director at Campaign for Uyghurs. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ilchi.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for joining us. You both have extensive bios, so I'm going to just briefly describe a little bit about each of you, inshallah, and then I want you to elaborate a little more on your personal experience. So Brother Idris was actually born in Hotan City in East Turkestan, and he was educated in Islamic religious studies and the Arabic language at underground schools in Hotan before he left his hometown in 1986 to study Islam in Egypt at Al-Azhar University. He then later moved to Munich, Germany, and was one of the first Uyghurs to seek asylum in Europe. And again, he is the current Inspector General of the World Uyghur Congress. And there's so much more that we could go into, but I want to let him share, inshallah. And then Brother Ilchi was also born in Hotan. He is, again, the Program Director for Campaign for Uyghurs. And Campaign for Uyghurs works to promote and advocate for the human rights and democratic freedoms of the Uyghur people and other Turkic people in the Uyghur region of that area. He graduated from the University of Calgary with a bachelor's in commerce. He is also host of the podcast Tarim Talks through the Tarim Network, interviewing people around the diaspora and sharing their knowledge with Uyghurs around the world. So thank you again, both of you, so much for joining us. So let me start by inviting both of you to tell us a little bit about each of your organizations and what they're doing, and anything you want to share personally about yourself. And then we'll dive into the topic itself, inshallah. Brother Idris, you can start us off.
Thank you for having me on this show. It's very personal for me to talk about this mosque with the CAIR doing boycott Hilton campaign, because I was born in that city, Hotan city in East Turkestan, and it's very personal for me. So we were Muslims, very new in the Western country. We are not too big community. If you imagine in Europe, Australia, America, almost maybe 30,000 people. In the US, not more than 10,000 people. And in Europe, about 20,000 Uyghurs refugee right now. So, but still we have in every free country organizations, Uyghur organizations, and the World Uyghur Congress is the umbrella organization for all the Uyghur organizations. And we have General Assembly, inshallah, next November in Europe. It will every 3 years the board will be elected and do the work. So I'm representing this organization. As a Uyghur Muslims, Turkestani people, We already did our homework. We are very united, our effort. Despite the Chinese Communist government taking hostage our families, one loved one in their hand, still there's enough Uyghur people, Uyghur Muslim people coming out speaking this repression, this Chinese genocide on the Uyghur people. Inshallah, we will discuss more in the future.
Yes, inshallah. Thank you so much. Brother Ilchi, go ahead. And also make sure if I'm pronouncing either of your names incorrectly at all, please correct me, inshallah.
Sure, you got it right. So I'm the program director at Campaign for Uyghurs. And so Campaign for Uyghurs was founded in 2017 by Roshan Abbas. And its primary goal is to promote the democratic rights and freedoms of Uyghur people, as well as other Turkic people who live in East Turkestan. Of course, with that, the primary goal today is to end the horrific crimes against humanity and the ongoing genocide that the Communist Chinese Party is perpetrating against Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims that are living in the region. And so that is where our efforts are focused on, and that's why Campaign for Uyghurs was on board and is a willing and very passionate organization that is joining the Boycott Hilton campaign.
Excellent. We really appreciate the collaboration, this coalition working on this issue. So look, a lot of people are familiar with what the horrible things that China is doing to Uyghur Muslims and others, but not enough people are familiar with it. And in fact, one of the funny things is that some corporations pledge ignorance about this. So we didn't know what's going on. We don't have power over that. We weren't familiar. So let's educate people so that there's no doubt about what's happening to Uyghur Muslims and others in China. Brother Idris, start us off and just give us a little background on the situation facing Uyghurs and other minority groups in China, not only recently, but give us a bit of history as well, if you can.
Yes, Uyghurs living in East Turkestan, and East Turkestan is apart from the Central Asian. If you look, the Islamic civilizations came from in Bukhara, Samarkand, Asfahan. The Muslims scholars were, champion on mathematics, physics, algebra, and the medicine, and the root, a lot of books in the serve to humanity. So the Uyghurs are part from those groups. End of 19th century, and by the great game between Great Britain and Russian, the Chinese conquered our country and give the name Xinjiang, which means new territory. For them is new territory. But if you look at me or brother Babur Ilchi, we are looking like a Central Asian people. We are, we look like from outlook here, our culture, our history belong to those areas. So that after the Chinese occupation 1949, Chinese Communist government wanted, this area like a Chinese territory, like a Beijing or Shanghai or Tianjin, demographically, culturally, and environmentally. They just already destroyed in 1950s, 60s by the program Great Leap Forward. This is the program the Chinese Communist government posed there. And in 70s, and Cultural Revolution. If you look back, end of 1979, in whole East Turkestan, there was, already copy of Qurans was burnt, mosques were destroyed, and the Cultural Revolution damaged us. When the Chinese Communist government occupied East Turkestan 1949, there in East Turkestan, there was more than 30,000 mosques. But end of 1979, there was almost 2,000 mosques. And then 1980s, the Afghanistan is the west neighbor to our country. there was a war between the Soviet communists invaded Afghanistan. So China get so scared. They give us a little bit freedom 1980s. Then we rebuilt our mosques. We get Islamic education ourselves. There was no institution, no school that provide Islamic religion. But through going to the Hajj through Pakistan or the Turkey or Central Asia, we were able again, establish our religion, our mosques, our Islamic institutions. So today, again, Chinese Communist government waging war on Islam. This war is different between other wars. There is some wars, still going on between Muslims, Christian, Jewish, or someone else. But China in this time destroying our belief, attacking our souls, saying Islam is a societal mental illness. Muslims are backwarded people. There are uncivilized people. Uyghurs are not normal people. We will make them normal people. And we will establish in this one China, one nation, one language, and one culture doctrine. And so they then began, this tragedy right now, especially attacked by our religion. They put almost 85% of imams in prisons. Many of them died there. And they destroyed, not just, we talk about one mosque right now. If you look in Turkestan, there are more than 20,000 mosques already destroyed or demolished. And if you look, 20,000 mosques, how many imams were there? How many people were praying there? This is the big scale. And as we were Muslims, we have almost a difficulty against Chinese disinformation machinery because they are so strong, they are so powerful in disinformation. And but still, Allah, Janab Allah, helping us and have this talk, inshallah, help to educate our brothers and the sisters around the world. And the brother Babur, maybe he explained more than. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Idris. Brother Babur, anything you want to add to that in terms of history or present day? Maybe, and also maybe tell us a bit present day, what is happening right now with the genocide. Maybe take us a little from history to the present day.
Sure. So I think what's happening today is an extension and a continuation of the oppression and discrimination that the Uyghur people have experienced under the control and oppression of the CCP. What we've seen today is millions of Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims who are imprisoned or sent to concentration camps or into forced labor systems. They're forced to renounce their identity as an Uyghur person, as a Muslim, and to praise the Communist Party and to praise the current leader, Xi Jinping. As well, we're seeing the destruction of cultural landmarks like mosques that were mentioned before, but we're also seeing the slow erosion outside of these camps of the Uyghur identity and lifestyle, with the forced reduction of birth rates, eventually eliminating the growth of the Uyghur people, as well as the taking of children, up to almost 1 million now, into these state-run facilities where they're indoctrinated, brainwashed, stripped of their Uyghur identity, and reformed into the Han ideal that the CCP wants. So it is nothing less than a genocide of the Uyghur people.
Absolutely. So let's now talk about, the fact that in our country and around the world, people often say when they talk about genocide, never again. We talk about the Holocaust, we say never again. We talk about Rwanda, never again. Bosnia, never again. And yet, here we are. A genocide is occurring. You've got hundreds of thousands, or maybe more, 1 million people locked in concentration camps where Uyghurs are banned from praying, forced to eat pork, forced labor, in some cases rape, forced abortion, sterilization, and murder of people who don't get with the program. And in addition to that, wiping out religious and cultural artifacts that are in some cases hundreds of thousands of years, over 1,000 years old. And yet, American corporations continue to do business in China. European corporations continue to do business with China. Many Muslim majority nations continue to not only do business with China, but to affirmatively endorse and support the genocide. That is perhaps most distressing of all, that we say never again, but many of us don't really mean it. So Idris, talk to me now about Hilton, what's going on with the Hilton Hotel, and how this hotel's the decision to establish a hotel on the site of a destroyed Uyghur mosque. How does that contribute to or enable the oppression of Uyghur Muslims? And is this part of a pattern of corporate complicity in the mistreatment of Uyghurs?
Yes, as you said before, the humanity says never again after the Holocaust in Germany, where I used to live there and went to the Dachau, and I saw with my own eye. But the Uyghur genocide is happening in the scale the humanity never saw before. Well, if you look in the Second World War, that genocide, they were planning, they were propagating for it, they telling to destroy the Jewish people and burning them. But today China propagating to do some disinformation work, says we want to make Uyghur people live in humanity, in working condition. They are backwarded. We wanted them, bring in our time. And doing this, the German kept record, what they killed. But in China right now, we don't see any evidence. They destroying evidence. Almost million people disappeared, and the millions of kids under 10 or 9 years old were put in the orphanage. They're raising an atheist system with Chinese culture, with Chinese traditional clothes, which today the Han Chinese never wearing it. And they forcing us, to become like a Han Chinese. And this genocide is happening, and the not just there is some report in Western country, they're condemning it in the media, but still Western company doing business with China. When we look back in Second World War, the Boss, the clothing company Boss, designed the Nazis clothes. They're doing business in China today. Volkswagen, which is used forced labor from everywhere, from the Eastern Europe and everywhere, the occupied Germany, they have today fabric in East Turkestan. BMW, same in Germany, and the many companies in the US, including Universal Studios and Airbnb, and even what we use, everybody using Apple, doing business in China. So this is not only a Chinese issue. The Western companies and many Muslim countries is complicit in genocide. And the Chinese Communist government using this new media outlets for its propaganda. If we look in the Muslim majority countries today, 90% of the Muslim Ummah doesn't know what is happening to their brothers and sisters in East Turkestan. They don't know because the media blockage there. So this is a very important to bring this mosque in hotel in Duling mosque, what we called in East Turkestan, it's Gujan Darwaza. It's the region. Duling is a Chinese word. There is a caserne for the police, and they use this name. Maybe Babur went there before and saw this mosque. I think when he was there, but this mosque demolished. Today, appreciate a company for Hilton building a mosque there, a hotel there. So why a company like a Hilton, multinational Western company, cannot say or cancel it for this, because they are afraid of the Chinese market. So Chinese Communist government using its marketplace to control Western companies today. If today, a Chinese company is able to control every big company, corporate, media corporate, and the industry corporate, energy corporate, environmental corporate, what will happen after 20 years? If they can control the American company, what will happen to millions of people in Africa today? More than 2 million Chinese business people today in Africa. They already transporting this the modern slavery work practice from East Turkestan to the Africa. What will happen to them? So this is standing up for the Uyghur Muslims is not just for the Uyghur Muslim. It's for the humanity at whole, because China's invasion war are not just on Islam. They're destroying Tibetan, Buddhism, Mongolian, even Christian, and the Falun Gong. And what they practiced in East Turkestan already transport to Hong Kong. They built already concentration camps there. So China is used East Turkestan like a giant human laboratory, the test field. They tested there every new technology.
Facial recognition, the mass surveillance.
From military, from security, from economic, from diplomacy, all the issue, and putting the world in the dangerous situation. It's the Uyghur Muslim issue is today. It's the issue where the next world order will be look like. It will be look like as a Chinese communist non-believer system will be govern the world, or there will be individual freedom. Everybody can practice his or her religion or not, not believe it. That is the free world. This is the issue. So I'm very glad for CAIR to taking this issue, especially. I'm analyzing Chinese decisions in the media outlets. They don't much care about the Western outcry about the human rights or this, but they do care about Muslims if they come out and speak out. So it's the Muslim community, especially in the Western country, have more power than any Islamic country in the world. And if we can bring this issue in the front, it's everybody's issue. You can go, see hotel or Hilton Hotel. Where is the Hilton Hotel? If the Hilton Hotel cannot, cancel building a hotel where the mosque was demolished, how can we expect from others? So this campaign, inshallah, we will do more informed. Given more information, inshallah.
Absolutely. And before we go to Babur, let's put on screen the petition. If anyone hasn't signed it, you can go sign the petition pledging not to patronize Hilton hotels until they cancel this genocide hotel that they are building. And you can go to change.org/boycott to sign up. We've had over 4,000 people have already signed in just a matter of days. Again, change.org/boycott. You can leave that on screen for a few minutes, producer. Babur, let's go to you. So we've got a little understanding of what's happening in China right now with the oppression of Uyghur Muslims, this horrific behavior. Talk to us a bit about the significance of the masjid that was destroyed. Are you familiar with it at all? And also, why are they so intent on destroying mosques? Is it, as Brother Idris just noted, we're dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. And just like we saw the Soviet Union try to wipe out religion, unsuccessfully, by the way, the moment the Soviet Union collapsed, religion started making a comeback. So tell us a bit more about why they're targeting mosques, anything you want to share about this particular mosque. And also, if you could tell us, as you're speaking up about this issue, the Chinese government has been targeting activists around the world and targeting their families who are still in China. Anything you want to comment on that, share about that, about the risks that activists face to speak up?
Sure, definitely. I think that in regards to the specific mosque itself, Abdulhakim is probably the best person to talk to about that. I only lived in Khotan for a very brief period before I moved out of it. But in terms of the use of religion as a ideological boogeyman by the CCP, I think what we're seeing is the CCP primarily wants control and establish dominance in East Turkestan over the Uyghur people and the Turkic Muslim people who are there. And they see religion, particularly in this case Islam, as a threat to their ability to control and subjugate the Uyghur and Turkic people who are living here. They see mosques as a way for Uyghurs to gather and spread ideas and share their thoughts in a way that isn't regulated or controlled. They see imams and religious community leaders as potential thought leaders and community leaders who may sway Uyghurs to a direction that the CCP doesn't like. And so when something like this is perceived as a threat to their own power, they're going to do everything that they can to crack down on it. So who were the first Uyghurs and Turkic people who were arrested or detained or disappeared? Many of them were religious figures. Many of them were imams. Many of them were considered community leaders in East Turkestan. The areas that are being destroyed, mosques, religious centers, these are or being converted so that they are CCP appropriate, with a new language, new design, with the new leaders being forced to recite party lines or propaganda lines. These are all methods of control for the CCP to make sure that the Uyghur people who they see as a potential threat to control aren't able to spread their own thoughts, have their own freedom, and it's a better way for the CCP to maintain that level of oppression and repression that they've been steadily increasing through the years.
Thank you, Babur, for that. So, Brother Idris, back to you. In terms of the Chinese government, I mean, you made a very important point, which is that, power dynamics in the world are changing, right? We used to have the United States and the Soviet Union as the two major superpowers. Well, before that, we had the Ottoman Empire and France and England. And so these things change, right? Right now, it seems we're on a trajectory potentially for China to be a major superpower alongside the United States, assuming we're still hanging around in terms of our economic influence. But the Chinese government is spreading its economic influence in so many corners of the world, from Africa to the Middle East, that we could be looking at if they get away with committing genocide against the Uyghurs, what won't they be able to get away with, right? What won't they be able to do to anybody else in this world, from the people of Hong Kong, the people of Taiwan, and to anyone else that they decide they want to target. If we don't stand up right now, if the world doesn't stand up right now and say no to China, and in particular the Muslim world has spent a century dependent on and subservient to Western countries. Does the Muslim world want to spend the next 100 years subservient to China, which is going to be even more hostile to Islam than Western countries were potentially, if how they treat Uyghurs is any indication? So I think you made a very important point there, Brother Idris, about the need for Muslim countries in particular to stand up. And so much of China's economic goals center on maintaining good relationships with Muslim countries for their Belt and Road initiative. They need Pakistan, they need Kazakhstan, all these countries, they need them to be either quiet or on board with what they are doing. So, Brother Idris, as we move forward with the campaign against Hilton, it's not just about Hilton. Would you agree? It's about what Hilton represents, which is corporate complicity, corporate cowardice. And we have to help give other corporations a bit of backbone to stand up against this. So let me ask you this, Brother Idris. Looking to the future, what are you hopeful about? Is there anything that you are hopeful about in terms of this situation, in terms of getting because it seems like the Chinese government is indifferent to most criticism. They're doing what they want to do. We know at the end of the day, Allah has power over all things. The Chinese government has no more power than what Allah temporarily allows them to have. And so we know that in the end, justice will prevail, inshallah. But we want it to come as soon as possible, inshallah. So what are you hopeful for in terms of the future? What's going in the right direction? And Brother Babur, the same question. We'd like to end on a positive, hopeful, inspiring note, inshallah.
So, Brother Ahmed, you brought a very good comment. If you look in the Quran Kareem, in our history, in mankind, if an empire or somebody want to become a God, God took care of them. We have many examples in the history. Today, Chinese Communist Party intending itself like a religion, Xi Jinping like a god. If we are talking about a mosque is where you you go there and pray, and it's between you and Allah or God. So what the Chinese government did, they destroyed more than 20,000 mosques in every village, and particularly in Khotan area, more mosques. And then they left some mosques in big cities for the showcase. But on those mosques, if you go inside, in the mihrab, there is a picture of Xi Jinping. Top of the mosque, there is a CCP flag. It means, everywhere you can read the slogan saying you should be thankful for the party that you can breathe, you can live in peace, you can live. Those are, we should be thankful to the God, to the Allah, not for the party. So Allah will take care of this communist regime, because it's we saw in the Quran al-Kareem and in the history in mankind. Inshallah, that will be coming. But I am, I myself lost contact with my parents almost 4 years. Last time I spoke to my mom was 25th April 2017. From that time on, I don't know if they are alive or not. In this century, I'm not alone. If you go to Turkey, there is more than 60, 70,000 Uyghur people living there. Everybody has somebody there, but they don't know. We cannot communicate. They shut down. In this century, that is happening. Before I said, in the US, living more than 10,000 Uyghurs, you can find Uyghur people in California, in DC area, everywhere. Go ask them. Everybody has somebody, and they don't know if they're alive or not in this century. We facing this tragedy today. So last 4 or 5 years, before we get to some attention from the U.S. government and the Congress, it took 2 years. When we first went to Congress, says it's impossible in this area. What are you talking about it? But then later they said, yeah, it's happening. Sorry to hear it. I'm hopeful that the Muslim NGOs, Muslim civil societies, Muslim communities, on the leaders in the Western countries began to talk about the Uyghur issue. This is very important for us, because China using this argument, it's the saying, it's America didn't want to have China rise and they become economic power and using Uyghur people. Maybe the America or United States or Western country using it or not, but the end of the day is when if I go to bed, I don't know if my parents are alive or not. That's the issue. So it's more important that the Islamic civil societies and or Jewish, Christian, or who cares about human rights, environment, stand up this Chinese totalitarian and genocide, because it's happening today in our watch. Right now, it's happening there. So more important, and we have to take accountable every corporate, who's doing business with China.
Brother Babur, final thoughts. Babur.
Yeah, I just think that we're seeing tangible action with governments that are speaking about this, recognizing the Uyghur genocide. We're realizing that there are many companies and brands that are complicit in forced labor and taking action. The Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, these trade advisories against companies that are giving or providing technology or manufacturing using Uyghur forced labor, and of course, NGOs, human rights organizations, all coming together to create these massive coalitions and campaigns to put pressure on brands to stop their complicity, like the Hilton Hotel boycott campaign, and also to do their best to de-incentivize a profit motive of the Uyghur genocide and put an end to the suffering of millions of Uyghur people who are under the oppression of the Chinese regime. So we are seeing this kind of progress, and people can take action in many ways, including joining the global boycott Hilton Hotel campaign and signing the petition.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for joining us and sharing your stories. May Allah grant freedom to the Uyghur people. May Allah reunite the Uyghur people here and there with their families. And may Allah grant us relief from oppression and not make us trial for the oppression of disbelievers, which is exactly what the Chinese Communist Party exemplifies, the worst of what human beings can be when they turn away from God and then want to force other people to do the same. But it will not work, inshallah. We saw with the Soviet Union is gone. And the religion that they tried to oppress and wipe away is coming back. Islam was here before the Chinese Communist Party, before the Soviet Union. And guess what? It's going to be here after the Chinese Communist Party is long gone from the scene, inshallah. We just want to make sure that we are all on the right side of history and the right side of this fight. The victory is inevitable, inshallah. The only question is, what side are you going to be on? And we are not going to be on the side of the Chinese Communist Party, inshallah. We are with our Uyghur brothers and sisters and all oppressed people around the world, inshallah. Thank you both so much for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Jazakumullah khair.
And thank you all for joining us for today's episode of CAIR on Air. We do appreciate your presence. If there's any topic you'd like to address in the future, email us at info@cair.com. Let's put that petition on screen one more time. Please make sure to take some time to go to change.org/boycott to sign the petition to boycott Hilton Hotels until they stop, cancel their plans to establish a hotel on the site of this destroyed Uyghur mosque. We got to make sure that Hilton and other corporations stop their complicity in China's genocide. Alhamdulillah, over 4,000 people have already signed in a matter of days. Let's get that up to 5,000 very soon and keep it going, inshallah. Thank you all so much. Inshallah, we'll be in touch about more actions you can take soon. Until then, assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you.